welcome to the Foresight Scrolls Channel. Here we examine charts and trade setups based strictly on the Foresight Suite for Tradingview Indicators. We take a look at indices, stocks, cryptos, and commodities. If you want me to take a look at something specific, just drop it in the chat. And if you're unfamiliar with the Foresight Suite, it's a suite of 4 indicators for TradingView that work independently, and they also work together to create confluence with each other. If you're interested in those, you can go to foresightscrolls.com or else check out the tutorials right here on the channel. So each day we're going to take a look at 4 different things, and we have an eclectic group of things today. We're taking a look at the S&P 500, which we do every day, Bitcoin, which we will do every day, and we're doing a stock, a crypto, and a commodity today. And so one of the things that we're noticing in the S&P 500 is this very strange behavior where we've had this vicious dump out 2 Fridays back. And you can see here our, we call this line the epoch, is what's saved this since the original tariff dumps back in late February and March. You can see back then we got this Genesis flip signal, so we knew we were off to the races at that point, and our trend has carried us up ever since. So each day we failed to get a confirmation close, so we got this, and then we gapped back up the next day, then back below it, then back up. Looked like we were getting saved here, so we were just waiting for that confirmation to close, and dips back the next day. And now it's on Monday. We've gapped up again. What's going on? We're going to take a look at this with regular candles, and you can see this channel that it's been in. And so for the last week, we can see that we've been chopping between our epoch and the up channel. And today we gapped up this morning. Even in after hours trading, we're up just a little bit, really attacking this breakdown up here. So we'll see if that gets a confirmation close back in this channel tomorrow. Jerome Powell is speaking this week. It is in the stock market, it is a lot of it's earnings season, so a lot of the big boys are reporting earnings. Tomorrow I think GE Aerospace, Netflix, some other big ones report this week and next week too, I believe. So for now, we are just sort of waiting day by day to see which direction this thing wants to go. For us, if this thing is ever going to break down, which we assume that it will, once we get below this line, we should get an oblivion signal, which will tell us that we are most likely heading down. So that's what we're looking for on from the Foresight indicators. And if you're unfamiliar with that signal, you can see it here. This particular one happened very, very fast. This was that drop a few Fridays ago. So normally when you see this, you would see something more akin to, let me show you another one, this one right here. So we get below it, but it sort of gives you a very good, strong signal that there's further downside. And you can see we chopped along and then dumped out. Normally that's what you would see. So right now, taking a look at Bitcoin on the 4-hour, what we're seeing here is it's not necessarily indecision, although you can think of it that way. We have the daily looking as if it wants to make this attempt to turn around on the mystic and start heading back higher. The problem with that is if you look here, we're into some major resistance in this trend line right here. So this was a big head and shoulders pattern on sort of a slanted one. And some people actually may say that because this went higher than the head, it's devalued, but you know, we're just sort of waiting to see, because as you can see, we broke down, and this is actually the retest of that neckline. So if you go down to the 4-hour, you can see that we're right into it. We've actually printed a premonition. It looks here like the 4-hour is turning to potentially roll over, but there's something here that the Foresight indicators are showing us that may not be evident. Most people haven't seen the indicators before, and this is something you could learn with us in the Discord as we go over things like this. But what we've seen here is a break above the trend. So you can see we've broken above the trend. And one really cool thing that we see is we call this line, you only see this on lower time frames than the daily. We call this the present moment. And as you can see, it's starting to cut through this purple wave. And a lot of times what we see is as it appears on the other side, it's sort of a confirmation of trend changing. And most of the time what you see is price will dip back down right into it before it takes off. So let's see if I can find an example of that over here. Yeah, right here we dip under it, and you can see right here we get this pullback. Didn't quite make it down here to it, but normally there's a pullback. So we're seeing this very same thing. And if you look at this, if you're familiar with candlestick patterns, and we go to regular candles, it's actually a little easier to see on the Heiken SGs. You will notice we're putting in a bull flag. It's a strong up pattern, and then sideways chop. That's a bull flag, which a large percentage of the time means further upside. So now Bitcoin is in this really weird position where, as far as our indicator suite says, it says, look, it's trying to flip bullish. We also have a bull flag forming. We wouldn't be surprised to see a little retest here before the next leg up, which would be in confluence with the larger time frame on the Mystic if it were to continue to turn up and we were to get any sort of confluence signals with any of our omens or our apprentice spells here. So that's sort of where we're at with Bitcoin. Everything seems to be hanging in the balance at the moment, but that is not unusual during weeks where Jerome Powell, the Fed, is going to speak. People want to know the direction of the market. They want to know if rates are going to come down, so on and so forth. And especially because it's earnings seasons, because stocks will whipsaw around depending on how they're reporting earnings. So since we're talking about stocks, let's take a look at Biogen. Biogen has been in this very long downtrend. And on the daily, you can see we flipped the daily here and we've been riding the wave up. And this, let's see if we can zoom way out here so you can see it. So you can see this trend line here that's kept this thing down. And now we've broken out of that. So if you look, now what we have is we broke out and now we're getting a retest of the trend line, which is completely normal. These things can walk down here a little ways, but this guy's bounced right back up. So tomorrow on Biogen, I'm going to be watching for a couple of things. One, do we get a confirmation candle close up here? And if so, are we getting any sort of signs down here from our omens or spells that indicate upside? Because at that point, we would be above our trend. We would have omens pointing to the upside. We would have this breakout and retest. So that's strong confluence at that point that this thing would be going up. So that's Biogen Inc. That's something to be watching. And you can see here how we're using our indicators and also seeing how they begin to align with some more traditional technical analysis here. Jumping on to Solana. Solana is in a similar predicament, though not as obvious as Bitcoin. And if we go back here, we can see that there was a head and shoulders right here. See if I can draw this out for people who may not know what we're talking about. If I can see Starting to lose where my tools are here. I know it's in here somewhere. Pretty bad about overlooking these things. I'll just point it out so I don't spend too much time looking for it. So a head and shoulders is the idea that there's an arm here. Let me turn off some of these things. You can really see this here because this is really important. We have this up move, and then see how this makes a shoulder. And normally you'll get this double hump, and that's called the head. You can see how it's higher than the shoulder. This is a really clean head and shoulders, by the way. And then we get this right shoulder, and you can see how it popped right up. And notice how this is one really cool thing about Heikin-Ashi. On this shoulder here, because these candles are closing on the average price of the candle, normally you can mark this out like that, and that's where that price is trying to tag before it goes back down. You can see it did it just perfectly here. So we took this trade the other day, and it was just beautiful. This was over the weekend. Cleaned house with it. I think we got in around 194.70, right about in there. And we didn't ride this thing all the way down. We actually may have only taken this to here. I can't recall, but you can see how that came down. And now what we're doing is, it's really as far as technical analysis goes, is a bearish signal, because we've had this down move and now this upward channel, which 75% of the time will break to the downside, and we would go further down. So you can see we're already getting omens. This is on the 2 hour though, but you can see how we're just sort of chopping sideways. So there's not a lot of strength in the moment. And here on the 4 hour, it looks like we're beginning to roll over too. So this is something that we're going to be watching really closely. If we get any premonitions here. And oh, look at these. This is so good. We got a premonition here, a little pullback and then a bounce. This premonition here predicts this. This one predicted this. So it'd be really nice if we would see this thing maybe come back up into this area and get a premonition and a rollover. So that's a really good example of what may happen, and we're going to use Foresight to trade that. So that's Solana. Like I said, this has been true since this dump out a couple of Fridays ago. There's a lot of waiting happening, a lot of people waiting to see what the next move is. Also, when there's a move that big in the market needs a while to recreate structure in order to trade. So if you're trading levels or trend lines or things like that, it's recreating structure now that it's had this big dump out. Moving on, we're going to take a look at a commodity today, and I can't remember if we've looked at this yet, but here's an ETF that tracks corn, and something that's really interesting to think about is when wheat and corn right now are really, really, really beaten down. They have been for a long time. And we would expect to see these things go up if we were entering some sort of economic downturn. And you can see right here, this is the daily chart. You can see right here, and by the way, it's always worth pointing out with Foresight how we had a premonition and a pop. And then we've got these long spells, and you can see we sort of bled down into them and popped. Premonition and a pop. Got some apprentice spells here and a nice pop, and we've put in these premonitions, and you can see it's been driving price back down. But now we're back in this same predicament. We've got a long spell. This apprentice spell, that's these three triangles right here, it hasn't confirmed yet. We're just still on this day, so we're waiting for tomorrow. And look at this, after hours trading has this price above the epoch, the blue line. So with these spells, and if we get above this blue line and stay above the blue line, that's a really good sign. We would get a Genesis cross there, and most likely a move to the upside. And if you're familiar with ABC patterns, see there's ABCD. Excuse me. You can see it would be something like this. I mean, the C. I'm not suggesting that's where it would end, but that's the general pattern. Is a B and a C wave. That these things come in waves. And some folks would wait until it breaks the A in order to long it. But it's very, very common that you get these things in these patterns, these waves. That's what we're looking at. So anyway, if you have any questions, feel free to email us, jump into the Discord. Even if you don't have the indicators there, it's a good resource, a good place to be. And we're still early on here. We only launched this thing a couple of Fridays back, the day that we had that big dump. So the Discord's still really new. We're still, putting out the word and building this thing out, and would love to have you be a part of it and, give feedback and input and help us make this thing even more strong than it already is, which is an exciting thing to think about, considering how good it already is. All right, so appreciate you stopping by. Have a good one.